put yourself on. Second order of business is that we will be recording this session. Very well timed. And this is mostly so that, number one, if you can't stay for the whole session, you will have this recording to view later. And then for others who weren't able to join us, they can also review this recording at their own time as well. So as we have our folks come through and trickle through, would love for y'all to, in the chats, introduce who you are, where you are currently in the world. And yeah, just so that we know who's in the room. And I think at 12:03, I'll begin with some of our listeners. I see Jimmy coming in hot with the howdy. Really appreciate that.
Do you see me, Steve? No?
Sorry, who was speaking?
Casey, Wiko.
Oh, hi, hello. I do not. We are just gonna broadcast one person speaking right now. But if you can, for the time being, put yourself on mute, that'll be great. And we will be getting started very shortly. We will have an opportunity at the end for questions. We, of course, want to hear what everyone here has to say as well. But for the sake of time, we will be putting that at the end. Okay, it's 12:03. I think this is a good time. I love that everyone's introducing yourselves in the chats. So just some logistics before we begin. Number one, this is being recorded right now in case you cannot stay for the whole time and you can view this later, and for anyone else who wasn't able to join us. Number two, please put yourself on mute until the end so that we can focus on the speakers one by one. And then the last one is language access. I'm pretty sure everyone here knows about the language access work that we have been doing. And we want to make sure that we're practicing these language justice practices or behaviors in meeting spaces like this as well. So typically we would have probably two different rooms or multiple rooms, depending on the language, and different interpretation languages available. But because of who signed up, what we did instead is for all the Korean speakers from our community that are tuning in right now, they're all in one room. I'm going to wave to them. And they are going to have interpretation happening live in that room. This is more for us as the presenters and for anyone who asks questions. But number one, please be sure to speak at a very reasonable and slow pace so that our interpreters can interpret without feeling rushed or stressed. If there is any moment in time where we are speaking too fast, please, in the chat or in the chat, tell us to slow down. If there are any words that we are using that are too complex or you don't understand, please let us know. We want to make sure that we are using accessible language that can be interpreted. The biggest thing for us is that we don't want you to suffer in silence. If you have any needs or things that you want addressed, please let us know. We will pause this presentation to make sure that we address those kind of things. I was going to do the hand motion for slowing down, but because we're doing one camera, I don't think we'll be able to see that. So if you write that in the chat, we will take note and slow down. And I think it'll be easy for us because most of us are from the South. So we speak slowly anyway. All right. With that, I'm going to pass it to Hyunja.
Welcome to Woori Juntos Texas legislative debrief today. Hi, 안녕하세요. My name is Hyunja Norman. I go by she, her, aya pronouns. I'm the executive director of Woori Juntos. I would like to welcome all of you who joined Woori Juntos.
Hyunja, you're on mute.
You didn't hear anything? I will start from the beginning. Okay. Welcome to Woori Juntos Texas Legislative Debrief today. Hi, 안녕하세요. My name is Hyunja Norman. I go by she, her, aya. I'm the executive director of Woori Juntos. I would like to welcome all of you who joined Woori Juntos first Texas Legislative Debriefing today. I also want to thank you, all of you, for supporting Woori Juntos by showing up to our many community conversation meetings on Thursday evenings and riding the bus with us to Austin to testify. Woori Juntos was born in 2021. It means we ride together in Korean and Spanish. As an organization founded by first-generation Korean American immigrant women, our name reflects our deep root in the Asian American community we serve and our understanding of the importance of solidarity, inclusion, and collaboration with other communities. Through social service, community education, community organizing, advocacy, civic engagement, and leadership development, Woori Juntos meet the immediate need of our most vulnerable Asian community members who are often left out our democratic process. By building power toward social, racial, and economic justice for all, we are building Asian American power in Texas. Woori Juntos is the Texas affiliate of NACASE, a National Asian Immigrant Justice Network. This legislative session is our first time advocating at the statewide level for our communities. Now, I want to introduce our senior community organizer, Sarah Said. Sarah, please take it away. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hyunja. Welcome. We wanted to take the opportunity to highlight State House Representative Texas 148, Penny Morales-Shaw, who will be providing brief words on our experience working with her at the Texas Legislature this session, and I will give it to you, Penny, to take it away. You may be on mute.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Sarah. Good, I had a little rehearsal there. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, all of you, for organizing this and for the community for showing up. I want to just briefly talk about the session when members of Woori Juntos got on a bus, traveled what seemed like overnight, and showed up to the Capitol for a committee hearing, which is the first stop for a bill after it's been filed. And the bill that Woori Juntos was a primal part of, really who planted the seed for it, was the language access bill. And that bill was to make sure that state agencies, especially ones that have services for the community, made sure that their services and access to the services were in different languages. And so I want to thank all of the members who got on that bus and drove all the way to Austin and waited for the hearing and testified before the committee of the 9 members of the state house to talk about why it was important for them in trying to obtain services from the state to have access in their own language. Without that, there are barriers that preclude or keep people from getting the services that they are entitled to. And that our tax dollars go to, and we want our tax dollars to go to helpful services like this. I wanted to, that testimony, for example, was greatly impactful in a few different ways. One of them was, after the committee hearing, I went and met with each of the members of the committee, and they all expressed their heartfelt thanks for you all coming and how impactful it was. It was hard for them to ignore the request when people personally came and talked about coming to this country and trying to access things and not knowing the language in the beginning, and just not being able to really understand very complex forms and applications, and just not having a source or a resource to be able to go to translate those into their native language. And those members, we talked a lot after that to try to figure out how is the best way we can promote language access availability in the State Departments. So that was how the interaction was with the members of the committee that directly heard the testimony of the Woori Juntos group. But then after that session, we reached out to one of the main agencies, was the Health and Human Services, where SNAP benefits and other benefits are. And they have met with us 2 times since session, and we plan on meeting them again. We're getting periodic updates. So within a 3-month period, we've met with them twice. And from the first meeting to the second meeting, they have already activated language access portals that weren't activated before. And we hope they've made some other promises, but I want to wait until they're actually done before I bring back that report to you. But the 3 things I wanted to highlight is that the way to get language access right now is by going to 211. I'm just looking at my notes here. We want to make sure that you know the steps. It's going to 211texas.org or dialing 211. But if you go online and you go to contact us, then you will see a tab called Learn About Services section, and under Contact Us. So if you click on that, you will see how to get an interpreter. We're told that there are interpreters for over 150 languages. It's kind of like a call center. So when you request it, they're obligated and trained, by the way, to make sure that you have access to those services. And of course, our meetings and your advocacy coming to the Capitol has highlighted that greatly for them, because I think it was kind of sitting on a shelf gathering dust somewhere, but this has really activated the agencies. The other way is to go directly to the Health and Human Services website. And if you click on the contact, it also has another tab called Learn About Services. And then it will direct you on how to get translation services. And then the last one is yourtexasbenefits.com, where you already probably go for your benefits. If you go to the help tab in that link, and then select applying for benefits, then you will also get instructions on how to access an interpreter. And by the way, the agency has promised us that any person taking in an application or helping you process these forms through their agency is trained and obligated to make sure that they connect you with those language access services. So I'll make sure that I provide this, because I know that was a long list. But I'll make sure I provide a copy of this to Stephen and Sarah and the other the leaders, so that they can publish it to you, so you can have a printed reference of it, not just taking real quick notes. And so that's what we have to report. And we look forward to continuing to work with Woori Juntos and all the other collaborators to just create a more service-oriented government, so that the public gets more out of their tax dollars and out of your public servants. So thank you. And I'm available if there's any questions. I don't know, Stephen, if we have time, but if there's anything you want me to respond to, then I'm here to listen and answer.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Representative Morales-Shaw. If you're able to stay towards the end, we will have time for Q&A. There is actually one question in the chat already. Since you're here, I will ask it out loud from Lydia, could all of those links that you mentioned be sent to everyone, either here in the chat, or I think probably easier for us to email everyone who attended these kind of resources?
Sure. Yeah, actually, I can just I won't do the whole instruction, but I will do a quick thing in the chat, and then I'll provide you with the typed out list that has each step of it.
Perfect.
So thank you for that request.
Yes. All right. And yes, if you're able to stay, Representative Marlishaw, that'd be fantastic later on for questions. I just really want to reiterate our immense gratitude that you were such an incredible champion for language justice this past session. You were there with us literally every step of the way, figuring out different avenues to push this kind of policy forward, and to this day, even after the regular session. So thank you.
You're
and
welcome. You're
everyone,
welcome.
I think feels the same way with giving you much appreciation. Okay, we will now move on to the next slide. And I'm going to spotlight myself. All right. If we can give Representative Marlishaw a virtual hand clap, that would be amazing. Hi, everyone. My name is Stephen Wu. My pronouns are he and him, and I am the organizing and policy director here. Woori Juntos. If y'all can mute yourselves, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. Okay, and I'm going to now give a quick overview of what it was like at the beginning and the middle and the end of this past session and how we worked through that. Next slide. So before we go into the nitty-gritty and the details, which I know a lot of y'all are very interested in, I wanted to first ground us in why we were doing this in the first place. And I really want to emphasize the top line that we have highlighted with the underline, who we fight with. We are not fighting for people. We're not speaking for or on behalf of folks. We are fighting with community members. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're meeting the direct needs, the material needs of the people that we live with, whether that is making sure that there's language access, making sure that they have the abilities to, voice their own concerns or recommendations, or even just learning how to navigate these systems. Our theory of change is that directly impacted community members have the best solutions and recommendations for positive policy change. Typically, they're just not included in the conversations or these tables to begin with, and our work and our role as Woori Juntos is being a vehicle to make sure that the playing fields are a bit more leveled. Next slide. Okay, so where are we now with the political landscape? So at the beginning of this legislative session, I'm pretty sure a lot of people here heard a lot of news about surplus. We had a lot of extra money available to be used for the next 2 years in the state of Texas. It was around $32.7 billion, which I can't even fathom how much money that is, but it's a lot. It's a lot of money. And, at the beginning, there was a lot of hope that this could have been spent to really help our people, advance our communities, and address direct needs. But sadly, as we saw for the next 5+ months, the Texas legislature instead chose to focus their energies and hard dollars to aggressively attack and assault, in my opinion, communities across the states. And we're highlighting a few that were in particular danger from a lot of these policies, since these were the groups and issues that had the most attacks towards them. So the first is our LGBTQIA+ or queer communities. We saw, sadly, a record 140 anti-queer, anti-trans bills introduced, which was the most in Texas history. 35 of them moved through the legislative process, and very disappointingly, 7 have passed. And these range from their impacts from banning life-saving gender-affirming care for our trans youth, to banning trans youth from playing the sport that they want to play with the gender that they are identifying with just because of discomforts from some people here in Texas, to drag bans and limiting what our drag queens and kings can perform in Texas, to banning DEI programs in public universities. There was the book burning bill that now restricts the kind of literature that our young students and young people can read in libraries, to many other areas in between. And it was a really terrible attack against all of these community members. And it's something that I also want to uplift, like all the amazing organizations and groups who fought against it, like Equality Texas, like Tent, and everyone else that was really at the forefront to try and prevent and mitigate as best we could. But it still continued there with the DEI programs in public education. I mentioned the DEI bills, the anti-DEI bills that were introduced. There was also the anti-tenure bill that was really targeting towards professors who just wanted to have that protections for academic freedom. And we're seeing the windfalls. We saw Texas A&M have a terrible exposure of what they were trying to do to rescind or water down the offer to the professor from UT in journalism that was coming over. We are seeing how the University of Houston's LGBTQ+ center is most likely going to be closing down. And in the middle of this, I mentioned the surplus. We had an opportunity to really invest in public schools, invest in teachers. There was hopes to increase teacher pay, to change how we conduct or do school funding based upon enrollment and not attendance, to invest in more of our schools in general. And sadly, none of that happened. But on the flip side, what we did do were invest $300 million into school hardening, including having more police officers on campuses, which for us, it does not provide public safety, it just promotes more harm. The third group that was also sadly on the target for some of the legislators this past session were our immigrants and our migrants who were just seeking safer shores in asylum or as refugees. This is sadly a continuation of what has happened with Operation Lone Star that started a few years ago. This past session, they invested another $5.1 billion into quote unquote border security. And they introduced dozens of anti-immigrant and anti-migrant bills as well. Next are construction workers and also really honestly, anyone who lives in a local city or county, which is all of us here, the state took the largest step forward to preventing local control from really happening. There was one particular bill that preempted a lot of local regulations or ordinances that we could enact. And one of the biggest things that we felt was going to be a problem was having local control of implementing mandatory water breaks. I'm sure everyone here is not hating the heat that is happening right now in Texas. It is overbearing, it is oppressing, it is dangerous, and it's lethal. And to now not have the ability to enact mandatory water breaks for our construction workers who are working every single day in this heat is terrible. We're seeing also, problems heat-wise with our prisons, where there are now dozens and dozens, sadly, of now reported deaths in our jails because we haven't invested in air conditioning in those units as well. And then the last piece is voting rights. Another sad tradition that we see Texas attacking over and over and over again, and this past session was no exception. We saw most of their focus here in Harris County. They wanted to undo a lot of the amazing progressive policies that were enacted locally, from trying to and then successfully passing bills to abolish our elections administrator's office here, to authorizing the Secretary of State to take over elections in Harris County if there are, quote unquote, irregularities, increasing the penalty for illegal voting, which is a very broad and very vague in terms of how they're interpreting it, to a felony now, to also eliminating countywide voting on election day, all to suppress our abilities to honestly vote in a fair and free way. Okay. So that was a lot of bad. And I want to make sure that we also are able to highlight some of the really, really good work that we are trying to champion. So to help paint a picture, we back in last spring conducted a community survey. We wanted to understand the biggest needs that our people had, the issues that they cared about, and what solutions they wanted to see happen. We got 1,500 responses across the state, which is amazing. It was a huge, incredible team effort to get these answers from our Asian community members, not just here in Houston, but as far west as El Paso, as down south as the Rio Grande, and as north as the Panhandle. And this was really our foundation for figuring out what are the key issues that our people cared about. And you see them on the screen right now. Language justice is one, immigrant rights was another, health equity, climate justice, and education justice. I really want to take some time here to mention that the work that we wanted to do because of how our communities answered that survey, it really showed that we care about a breadth of issues. We do not have specific things that only matter to us. We care about everything because we're whole human beings. And for us, it was trying to break away from the prism that only certain issues matter to Asian or immigrants in Texas, and that everything matters for us. So that was the first thing. And then we started planning, figuring out what our strategy was for the upcoming session right after the midterm elections, actually. So we took a break right after November, I think the first week of November, but we knew that we had to make time to figure out what our goals were for the next session. And I think the biggest one that we wanted to see happen was building political capital, making sure that our folks had the knowledge, the training, the skill set, and the opportunities to, again, voice and demand things that they wanted to see happen. The other key area that we wanted to focus on is to make sure that we can increase just access to all of these resources, that our people are not left out of this democratic process, and that, again, their perspectives are heard and implemented. Okay, now some wins, some of the good things that have happened. The biggest one that I want to start off with is the coalitions. If you know me, you will hear me say often that we do not do this work alone, and we don't. We do not do this work alone. We are only able to do what we do because of the amazing partners that we have as individuals, as organizations, as elected officials, as family members, as friends, as community. And it was so inspiring to work with incredible groups and people who just care so much about our communities. And I wanted to highlight a couple right here. So the first, we, with the help of actually one of our sadly now departed former staff members, Nicole Ma, created the Texas Language Justice Collective. It was a very intentional effort to create a space where 17 plus organizations joined us so that we can fight for language justice collectively. We also had the space to help improve policies that we wanted to push because, again, we know that we alone did not have all the solutions. But if we had a space together to brainstorm, to amend, to improve the ways that we wanted to approach this, we would have a better product at the end of the day. And I wanted to highlight some of the key things that we did as a coalition. So we had 2 bills that were introduced for language access, one from Representative Morales Shaw on the House side, and then one on the Senate side by Senator Jose Menendez. We also worked with 2 House representatives, Representative Donna Howard and Representative Lulu Flores, to introduce bill writers and budget bill amendments to make sure that we can actually fund these kind of policies. Initially, we set out a goal to get maybe 10 total co-authors. We got 19, including Republicans to join on too. So the bills that we introduced were actually bipartisan, which makes sense. This language access policy should be bipartisan. And then Representative Marlashala mentioned the public hearing that happened for the House bill on April 25th. That was such an incredible effort. You can see the pictures on the left of like how it felt, especially right after the collective relief and joy that we had. We held an education session on April 27th to mobilize and educate people on what they can do next now that our public hearing finished. And then we created a demand letter for the two committees to move the bills forward. We got 36 signatures from organizations to sign on across the state and across this country, which I might add is more signatures than Governor Abbott got for his property tax initiatives. So we beat him out on that. The second group that we really wanted to highlight is the Trust Coalition. And I think there's some people here who are part of that. This was probably the most intentional other space that we were part of to promote good policies in protecting our immigrants and migrants here in Texas. It was amazing to try and fight and kill bills like HB 7, HB 20, Senate Bill 2424. These are things that would have created vigilantism for any regular person to enforce immigration law, criminalizing someone seeking asylum, more detention centers, policing our borders, and militarization of the border in general. And the one thing I wanted to really pinpoint was that HB 20 and HB 7 public hearing. Our community members, a lot of our Korean senior fellows drove up with all of us and were there for over 24 hours waiting to testify. And they testified at 1 a.m. And they stayed there the whole time because they understood how important it was to show, number one, solidarity with our border communities, to also uplift that there were Asians who were also coming through the southern border. And even if they weren't, we wanted to be there to show that this is a collective effort to stop bad policies. But we also co-organized an Asian American Advocacy Day with our incredible Asian organization partners. We did this in March to uplift a lot of the collective issues that we were fighting for, like language justice, mental health funding, expansion of voting rights, and stopping the anti-Asian discrimination, which Sarah will explain momentarily. And then finally, all the other issues that really mattered to us. We were there during the anti-DEI and anti-tenure bills public hearings. We were there for over 18 hours. We were also there during the anti-gender affirming care bill. We went to the rally as well. And also we were part of a coalition called Cover Texas Now that was trying to extend Medicaid coverage for postpartum care, and also finally, hopefully one day, expanding Medicaid for all of Texas. Okay. Also, I'm speaking slower because someone told me to slow down, so thank you so much. I do want to make sure that our interpreters can interpret at a very good pace. The other really important win, and this is the part that I love the most, was the people power. I mentioned in the beginning, we wanted to make sure that our community members were the ones who fought for the issues that they cared about, not us. So initially, we wanted to educate 150 community members on these issues that we're fighting for or against. We actually educated 166. We wanted to train 50 Texans to become advocates. We trained 79. We wanted to mobilize 25 of them to actually testify or speak. We mobilized 40. And in total, as a collective, we gave 30 testimonies at 9 public hearings, submitted 80 public comments, dropped over 150 cards on 30 different bills. And it was very emotional seeing how our community members, we knew that they had really good ideas and really good solutions, but to see them go from not knowing where the Texas legislature is with its work to going and testifying in person or speaking to staff in language was everything for us. And to see them do it in Korean, in Spanish, and Arabic was really inspiring. So I am now going to hand it off to one of those community members, Mr. Han, who testified for this language access bill that we were fighting for. Alice, is Mr. Han speaking through your computer? If you are, y'all are on mute.
Even you. Okay.
안녕하세요. 저는 한영길이며 휴스턴에 40년째 살고 있습니다. 다른 사람들 앞에서 나의 이야기를 해야 한다는 것을 생각하지도 않았는데 우리 훈토스가 지역사회 미팅에 오면서 오스턴의 건강한 언어 텍사스를 위한 언어 접근성 공청회에 간다는 것을 알았지만 나 같은 사람이 무엇을 할 수 있을까 했지만 우리 훈토스에서 훈련부터 어떻게 하는지를 교육받고 준비 과정을 도움받을 수 있었습니다. 우리 훈토스에서 이런 기회를 만들어주어 한국 사회를 위해 나부터 앞장서서 적극적으로 참여해야겠다고 생각했습니다. 현재 영어를 하지 못해서 많은 불편함을 겪었습니다. 불편함을 넘어 때로는 불이익을 당했다는 생각까지 들었습니다. 특히 2009년 9월 2일 대장암 수술을 했을 때 영어를 하지 못해 너무 힘들었습니다. 내 의사 표현을 정확하게 할 수 없어서 애를 먹었습니다. 그때 당시에는 병원에 통역하는 사람이 없어서 아는 분의 도움을 받아야만 했어요. 한국어로 읽거나 듣거나 볼 수 있었으면 좋았다는 생각을 했습니다. 그런 자리가 처음이라 오스틴 가는 길에 긴장이 많이 되었지만 영어를 못하는 나와 같은 형편에 있는 많은 한국 사람들에게 도움이 될 수 있다는 생각에 용기를 낼 수 있었습니다. 그리고 가서 다른 분들이 다른 증언을 하는 걸 듣고 보니까 이런 것이 우리 사회에 필요하다고 절실히 느꼈고 또 그분들과 함께 할 수 있어서 너무 좋았습니다. 나의 이야기를 의원들께 들어주시고 모두에게 내 생각과 전달하고 싶었던 말들을 다 전달할 수 있어서 기뻤습니다. 더 활성화시켜서 많은 사람들에게 알려주세요. 그토록 한인사회에 도움이 될 수 있어서 뿌듯했습니다. 주정부가 어디인지도 모르고 말도 안 통했지만 우리 훈토스가 옆에서 가이드라인이 되어주셔서 도움이 많이 되었습니다. 감사합니다.
Hello, my name is Young-Kil Han. And I have been living in Houston, Texas for 40 years. I never thought I had to share my experience in public, but while I was attending the local community meeting of Woori Juntos, they were fighting for language access for a healthy Texas bill at the Texas Legislature and wanted to make sure impact community members shared their voice for this policy. I initially questioned what someone like me could possibly do, but Woori Juntos trained me on how to testify and provided full preparation support. I felt that I should actively contribute and take the lead for immigrant communities after Woori Juntos created such opportunities. My limited English proficiency and non-English language preference has caused me a lot of inconvenience. Beyond inconvenience, I sometimes felt disadvantaged, particularly when I underwent colon cancer surgery on September 2nd, 2009. I had a lot of difficulty communicating because I didn't know English. I found it difficult to express my thoughts and feelings. At the time, there were no interpreters in hospital, so I had to rely on someone I know. My wish was to be able to read, hear, and see things in Korean. Since it was my first time, I was extremely nervous as I made my way to Austin, But then it gave me courage to think that I could be able to help many Koreans, Asians, and all immigrants who were in a similar situation to mine who couldn't speak in English. And when I heard and saw other people testifying, I strongly felt that this kind of things is desperately needed in our society. I was so happy to be able to be with them. I was pleased that the legislators listened and heard my story, and the words I wanted to share with everyone were able to be said. Please contribute to making it more active and popular by spreading the word. Lastly, I felt honored to have been able to support our Korean, Asian, and immigrant communities. Despite the fact that I don't know where the government is and I can't understand English, Woori Juntos has been a great help to me, and I'm very grateful for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice Hahnemann. She is the newest member of our team. And thank you, Mr. Han. We are so grateful for you sharing your experience at the Texas Capitol. It's people like you we hope to continue to amplify and engage in a meaningful way, taking into consideration language access every step of the way. My name is Sarah Sayed. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm the senior community organizer at Woori Juntos. And we can't talk about the Texas legislature without talking about some of our wins. And we are really excited to talk to you about some of the few things that we are really, really proud of and highlight a little bit about them. So one of the things, this was really important, especially personally for me, we increased access to religious freedom at the Capitol. It was the month of Ramadan, and I was fasting and looking for a place to pray. And myself and the Woori Juntos team went to go to find the chapel at the Texas Capitol and found that there were only a few Bibles in the chapel. And we thought, hey, it'd be great if there were some more books, especially the Quran, and a place for folks to meditate. And we worked with Representative Salman Bojani, one of the first 2 Muslim minorities elected to the Texas legislature last year. And he actually helped us put in his family Quran into the chapel. It was stolen, but after DPS investigated and found out who it was, he then worked with the state of Texas to purchase a Quran and have it placed in a safe place that they are now monitoring. And what it did do is it opened the door to have more religious text introduced into the chapel, including the Torah and the Gita. And it wouldn't have been possible without just asking the right questions and really advocating for in that moment of time for something that seemed so small, but really created history at the Texas Capitol. And I'm a little sad to say that I wish it would have happened sooner, given our federal Capitol has so many different opportunities for religious freedom, but this is just one part of history that we got to be a part of and contribute to. And even when I couldn't be at the Capitol, our team at Woori Juntos would go and check on the books, and they would follow up with their office. So really grateful for that experience, and something that we're super happy that we got to be a part of. So one of the bills that was really impacting the Asian community was SB Senate Bill 147. It is a bill that was introduced at the end of last year, and it was anti-immigrant, anti-Asian. What it did was it targeted US citizens from China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran, and had anti-immigrant sentiments, and it was inviting scrutiny to nationals from those countries. It at the time did not include provisions for green card holders, international students, and would have harmed so many people of Asian descent. But through building our power, activating our coalition ecosystems, we were able to have multiple advocacy days, press releases, public comments, testimony, engagement with our legislators to prevent this bill from passing and successfully stop it in its track. It was direct action that we got to be a part of, contribute to, and is arguably considered one of the largest Asian audiences advocating at the Texas Capitol, and Woori Juntos got a front seat. This is something that we are super proud of, and we couldn't have done this work without everyone involved. So we had guidance from a lot of our partners leading on this issue. Our team mobilized and co-organized advocacy efforts, and we wanted to make sure this did not pass. And it was through this collective effort with working with a lot of our partners, with so many different people that made this happen. And it was through people just like you who decided, you know what, I'm gonna speak up and make a difference. One of the things that we're also super proud of was we were privileged to have the Texas Tribune follow our journey as a first-time nonprofit organization engaging at the Texas Legislature. And it was really an opportunity for us to highlight a lot of our work, and most importantly, the folks who were engaging for the first time giving testimony, and it was wonderful to be a part of this archiving process. Huge shout out to Alexa Ura and Fabiana Chaparra, with whom this would have not been possible. They followed our journey both in Austin and in Houston. So they were able to highlight the work that we have continued to do at both the state level and also at the county and city level. And it's wonderful to see, you know, all of our efforts coming to fruition, and also increasing visibility for people of Asian descent and all immigrants in Texas. It was great to have the work that we did around language access really promoted in a meaningful way as well. And it also highlighted some of the gaps that still exist and that we're trying to fill. So this was something that we got to also observe and directly be a part of. And we are super grateful for this as well. And we just want to, if you haven't already, shameless plug, definitely look up the Texas Tribune, look up the work that we've been doing, and we hope that they'll continue with us on our trajectory in efforts with language access, especially at the next session. So this is an award that we won recently. So Stephen Wu, myself, Cunha, when we're all a part of the New Leaders Council, and unknowingly we were awarded the Collective Impact Award from the New Leaders Council at their convention this year, a few weeks ago. They heard about the work that we had been doing with language access and all the work that we've done at Woori Juntos. And so this was an award not just for us, but for everybody. And we're so excited to share that we won this award. And it's something that we're super proud of, and right now sitting in our executive director's office. So we appreciate you, New Leaders Council, and we appreciate the award. And that's a little bit about some of the wins that we had. So I'm going to pass it on to my colleague, Cunha Nguyen.
Hi everyone, my name is Cunha Nguyen. I am the Senior Communications Associate for Woori Juntos. And yeah, the next part that we're going to talk about is like continuing our fight at the local level. I know we've been talking a lot about all the things that we're doing or have been doing, and there is so much more that we are continuing to do also within Houston. So basically, we've trained a lot of our seniors as well as community staff as well to testify at the City of Houston budget hearing back in May of 2023, obviously this year. So while half of our team was in Austin, the other half was also doing work here in Houston to testify on language justice, housing, public health, and public safety, which was really important for us as well as our community members who stated that all of these topics were really important for them, as well as to learn more about how can they get involved. A huge milestone that we were able to also do as well is advocate at 2 levels of the government simultaneously, right? So we are a small but mighty team. So again, half of us were in the City of Houston, while the other half was in Austin, where we were participating with the legislators session. In addition to that, more closer to present day. We also trained 10 plus seniors to talk about testifying at the Harris County budget. We also were able to get our young policy advocates fellows as well to be part of this project and also testify in the hearing of this month. Mainly, we focused on language justice, the HEART program, which is also the holistic assistance response team, as an and then also our community safety budget, elections, and additional funding for public defender's office as well. I also want to be mindful of time because we also have Q&A. So I do want to pass this on to Stephen, who will be closing us out and also transitioning us to the next portion of this presentation.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cunha. And thank you to Sarah, Mr. Han, and everyone for presenting. I'm going to be really quick here. I mentioned that we do not do this work alone. We do this work in deep, not just solidarity, but struggle with all of our community members here. So I wanted to share opportunities for you all who are here today. Some of y'all are like our closest friends, deep accomplices. But right now, if you are able to, we are creating a new supporting system for the work that we're doing. The first is becoming a sustaining member. This could be a weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly contribution of $25 or more. I like the more part to help ensure that we can still continue doing this kind of work. Some things that I think about is like, number one, a lot of our staff went through a lot this past session. Some of us got physically sick. Some of us were mentally drained. It was very oppressive. And it taught me that if we want to make sure this work is sustainable, we need the resources to have dedicated staff in Austin during the Ledge, expanding our team, making sure that we can compensate, most importantly, our community members to do this kind of work in case they miss work. So your dollars here would be helping contribute to those kind of activities directly. Another one is to become a change maker. This is a network of donors and community partners who are interested in helping fund our work at the local and at the state level. And you can do this and building this out with us at our upcoming fundraising events. There is a bit.ly link right there that we'll put in the chat as well for you to join. And the last is we're planning a really fun winter fundraising event in December, most likely the middle of December right now. If you are interested, we would love for you to be a host committee member for us, and you can email Maria there to learn all about those details. But with that, because we love community, we still want to make time for any questions that y'all might have. So this is the part that if you want to ask questions verbally, you can go off mute and ask them now. So Sarah has a question that is relayed from Dr. Donna Kim Murphy. What work will you be doing in the interim for the 89th session? I could start, and I would love for my colleagues to add in as well. I think Representative Marla-Shaw very eloquently described all of the work right now that she is doing to ensure that Health and Human Service Commission is doing what they can with the resources that they have to improve language access. So we would, are planning to also be in communications with the agency too, to see, what improvements can be made, and of course, in coordination with Representative Marla-Shaw. Other things that we're thinking of is also working towards submitting and working with the agency to propose a budget next legislative cycle that includes language access. This is something that if you have this at the forefront versus fighting during the session, you'll have a huge leg up because the Health and Human Service Commission agency will be on your side during that process. And then Morales said yes.
Did you call on me, Stephen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to add that one of the benefits with working with the agencies when we're not in session is that as they're making the changes that we're requesting, they can do their own internal ask for funds. They're called LARs. And so, but the benefit of having spoken to HHSC, for example, was that they realized that a lot of the changes they could make wasn't going to cost them anything. And it was just a matter of communicating within the different agencies to try to change standards or improve or implement some of the plan they already have written. They just hadn't implemented yet. So, but yeah, part of the benefit of working during interim is that they can ask for money to try to complete things that they're already supposed to be doing. And I just wanted to add that.
Thank you so much for that context, Representative. Okay, another question from me is, what's next for language access? Well, we just shared a little bit about that, and anything on data disaggregation. So I think Cunha mentioned that we are trying to also improve language access policies locally here in the city of Houston and Harris County. We're actually right now in the Harris County budget cycle for the next fiscal year. And we are working with our partners to propose language access policies very similar to the ones that we tried at the state level, but just for here in Harris County. So that's ongoing right now. Anything on data disaggregation, that is something we definitely will explore. It's intrinsically tied to language access. You need to know more granular information about our specific ethnicities to implement some of these policies. So that would definitely be part of it as well. Esther has a question for Hyunja. I will read it out loud if that's okay. Woori Juntos has done such an amazing job of organizing seniors. For other organizations in Texas or across the country also interested in strengthening their senior base, what are some best practices advice you would give?
Maybe just get to know more your community better and try to understand what they need, then bring them to your space and then work with them and just let them be our champion. That's what I like to say.
Can I add something?
Yes, go ahead, Terry.
Yeah, as a service coordinator, working with a lot of our seniors who doesn't speak English and having helped them do applications or whatever needs that they have, like calling people, writing letters for them, reading mails for them. They are so appreciative of the services they receive from Woori Juntos that they want to be part of the things that's better. You know, that's why they went to Austin. When we need community education, they come, they bring their friends. All these things, they're participating because they have received help from us. They appreciate us and they want to be part of us.
So much, Terry. Okay, I think we can answer one more question. What we will do is we'll track all these questions that you have provided, and we will try to get back to y'all individually with our responses. So the next one on the docket was, well, Sarah's was next steps to get involved. So we have on the screen right now some of the ways of becoming a supporting member financially, which we definitely would recommend and encourage, since we would love to make sure that all of our people are compensated, they have all the resources that they need to be successful. Also, Cunha has shared some links to get involved from a volunteer or organizing perspective. We're about to hit our Get Out the Vote campaign. I'm pretty sure people know here that the city of Houston is having their municipal elections. We're going to elect a new mayor. We're going to have potentially new city council members. There's amazing ballot amendments. And Sarah, who is leading our voter engagement work, would very much appreciate anyone here who is interested in joining our Get Out the Vote efforts. we come from an issue-based perspective where we want to encourage people to vote because they care about certain things, and then move them to voting because of those issues. I think we can do probably one more. And I have been talking too much, and I would love for some of my colleagues to help respond as well. William asks, thank you all for hosting this informative, empowering event. I also wanted to ask, in what ways is worker justice on the docket for Woori Juntos? I want to open it up for either Hyunja, Sarah, Cunha to help respond to this if you would like. Okay, for the sake of time, I can answer really quickly. So one of the things that we're actually doing right now is kind of revisiting, number one, internally, how we are better practicing labor justice for our staff, for our contractors, for our fellows, which includes not only like supports in terms of monetary funding, but also what we're doing to help them get to their career goals that might be outside of Woori Juntos, because for us, if we can help support that as well, we're also doing our job to improving community itself. I think in terms of external work, we are looking to do a little bit more for seeing what we can do to improve labor practices locally. And at the state level, it will be challenging given the new laws that were just implemented, and will go into effect in a few days. But one area is trying to figure out what we can do to, I think, help democratize the city council. Right now, there's a budget, not a budget. There is an amendment that's going to go, or a charter amendment that will be on the ballot to increase the accessibility for city council members to introduce budget items or agenda items to discuss, so that more issues can be brought up to the limelight. And I think that's one avenue to making that happen. And then one last question from Ben. What are your plans to increase language access for voters, especially in Korean? I'll pass that to Sarah.
Thanks, Stephen. So for us, we try to acknowledge equity at every level when we're working with our community members. And so one of the things that we've done is we purchased interpretation devices so that it'll better equip us to communicate in a language that people feel most comfortable, especially when it comes to voter turnout and Koreans. Most of our materials that we are utilizing for our civic engagement are all translated in Korean and English. That means pledge cards. That means any forms that are electronic, or any door hangers. Even our senior fellows and community members that work with us that may speak in a language other than English, we try to ensure that they have everything they need, trainings, any community conversations in languages that they feel most comfortable again. And we're also on the path of expanding our Texas Language Justice Collective, where we broach the subject of how do we address language accessibility, whether that's at the state level, local, county, city level. How are we making sure that these systems that seem to be decentralized are working towards a more clear, centralized space for language accessibility? And so we are working with different departments here locally and having conversations, because we want to be that community partner that provides best practices, that gives resources. In our collective, we're hoping to have increased peer-to-peer support, more direct action, and just a network of folks that can really help each other when it comes to language access and accommodation. So, Stephen, if you want to add anything to that.
I will not, because that was great. Okay, I think we're now 4 minutes over. I believe that is all the time that we have to help answer questions live. But like I mentioned, all the questions that you have here in the chat that we did not answer, and if you have any other ones, please email us and we will get back to you as quickly as we can with our responses. And again, thank you so much to Representative Penny Morales-Shaw for making the time to not only come and present, but sticking to the end to answer really important questions. We know your time is very Awesome. Okay, and to everyone here, thank you for making the time to be with us, to be in community with us. We will obviously still continue doing this work, but felt it was important to give a big update on the things that we were doing and planning to do. And we'll be in touch with some next steps on how you can continue being part of our work. Thank you all so much.